Alright, so in this lesson right here, what I want to do is talk about the selection rollout and all of the different things that we have available in here and how they work. Now, I've already got an editable poly up in the scene right here, so let's go ahead and switch into one of the sub-object modes. We'll go ahead and switch into vertex. Sounds like something good to pick on. And you already know that I can come in here and now select vertices. No reason for me to hound over the fact that you can switch between all the different types and select, because we saw that in the last lesson. But let's take a look at some things that are pretty cool, that I think is pretty cool anyways. Select this vertex up here on the top. Let's say that I want to select all polygons that are connected to that vertex. All I would need to do is to come over here, over polygon itself, hold the control key down, and then simply click polygon, and it's going to select all of the polygons that are touching that vertex. What do you think, Logan?
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Pretty cool, huh? Let's go ahead and let's show it another way. Let's go ahead and come over here. Let's grab an edge one. That'll be easy to see. So which ones do you think are going to be, here, grab the mouse. Which one do you think is going to be selected?
Those three, right?
So we're going to have three. So we'll control, click, and that's exactly what we got. Very good. And now, of course, from here, let's say I've got these and I want to convert this into all edges that are touching the selected polygons at the moment. I could simply hold control and click on edges, and look at that. Now I've got all of those selected. And I could do with whatever, if I wanted to detach it or delete it or whatever, I'm ready to go. If I wanted to convert that into vertices, no problem. Control, click, and you'll see now, even though you can see all of the vertices, I can see the ones that are selected right now are just the ones that the edges were actually touching. And you know what? Something that I don't think actually made it onto this particular VTM that I think would be really good for you guys to see, and since we're just talking about vertices at the moment, I'm just kind of throwing this in off the top of my head. It's a little extra thing. You may notice that my vertices are a little bit larger than normal. Huh?
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah. Well, some of you guys out there may be working and your vertices may appear very teeny. Let's take just a second away from our little selection rollout over here and talk about how you can make your vertices appear larger like mine. All you need to do is simply come up here to Customize, come down to Preferences, and inside the Preferences Settings dialog that comes up, simply click on the Viewports tab, and you'll see up under the Viewport Parameters section right here that there is a Show Vertices as Dots, and you have small dots and large dots. Default is small dots. Simply change it over to the large dots, click OK, and you're ready to go. And you'll have larger vertices like this. This, just to let you know, though, give you forewarning, when you're doing very tedious modeling with something that's a very dense piece of geometry, you may not be interested in working with large vertices at that point. Just, thought I'd throw that out there. So now we've seen a way of switching back and forth between sub-object types. You know, of course, that we can do it up here as well. They're always going to be in sync with one another. And we also saw how we could hold the control key down and we could switch, basically not switch, but we could switch our selection type from one type to another based off of what is selected with the first type. Now let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of these other things. Let's switch over here to Polygon. That'll work. I'll deselect. We've got a checkbox down here that says By Vertex. So what does By Vertex do? Well, without it turned on, you see that I can simply select one of my polygons right now by clicking anywhere inside the polygon. Okay? If I turn on By Vertex, now what's going to happen is when I move my mouse over one of these polygons, look at the actual cursor's not changing to crosshairs no more. I can't click. I'm clicking right now. I'm trying to select and it's not letting me. I have to actually move my mouse over where a vertex would be, and what's going to happen is I'm going to select all of the polygons that touch that vertex. Let me show you. Click all three again. Let's come down here. Click all three along the bottom. Let's go to the top right here. Click all of those. Okay? Does that make sense?
Kind of like the reverse of the control click.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If you want to look at it like that. If I come over here to edges, it's the same thing. As opposed to having the ability to click on an edge itself, you see I can't. I have to go back to where vertex is. So once I click on where vertex is, it'll select all of the edges that actually touch where that vertex exists. Okay? So that's something interesting and worth noting. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Let's go ahead and switch back over to Polygon again. Let's go ahead and talk about ignore backfacing. So I'll deselect. Let's go ahead and rotate around this right here. Let's say I'm modeling, and when I model, I do a lot of marquee selecting. To me, that's very important. You won't find me just doing single clicks that often. Let's say I just happen to come in here and I marquee select this area right here. Let's take a look at the other side. I may not have wanted to select the polygons on this side, but I did. Okay, so basically my marquee selection had the power of seeing through everything and selected everything that fell within inside of it. Okay, perhaps I don't want that. If you don't, all you need to do is turn on ignore back facing. Now if I come in here, we'll do the exact same thing. I'll marquee select, come around to the other side. Nothing was selected. Logan, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, very cool. So now let's go ahead and talk about some of these new buttons that are now available in 3ds Max 5. And to do that, let's bring a new assistant out. Let's come over here and create, let's do a sphere. It's going to make it a little easier to see some of this. So we'll make ourselves a sphere. And you know what? Let's go ahead and take our segments down. So we'll make it not quite that detailed. That looks pretty good. Right click, convert it to an editable poly, and let's go ahead and switch over here into edge mode. You'll notice that these buttons down here, well, first let's go ahead and talk about shrink and grow. Let's go ahead and, it's best to show this if I switch over here to vertices first. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off track right there. I just got a little anxious about ring and loop. So right now I've got this one vertex selected. If I grow the selection, it's going to grab all of the vertices that were touching it, okay, or the next ones out, if you will. Now if I grow this one, okay, so you see how what's happening is our selection's just growing, growing, growing. If I come over here and switch this into polygon and select, same thing's going to happen. If I grow this, it's going to select all of the polygons that actually touch it. Grow again, you see how it just continues to grow. Shrink will allow me to do just that. I shrink it in one level, shrink it in another. Be careful though, if you shrink it all the way, now there's nothing selected, I can't start clicking grow. There's nothing to grow. There's no selection to grow right now. And if I happen to, let's say, select one of these and grow, 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 and grow until this thing is completely selected as it is right now, and then start saying shrink, look at that. Nothing's going to happen because it's not going to know how to shrink in.
Yeah, where to shrink from.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and deselect that. So that's the difference between shrink and grow. Very handy. Now, finally, get to the ring and loop. These are pretty cool. You'll notice that right now with polygon subobjects selected, we can't access them. They're grayed out. Okay, if I come over here to vertex, you see they're also grayed out. They're available when working with my edges and my borders. Okay, and what they do is this. Let me go ahead and select an edge. If I want to select by ring, what this is going to allow me to do is select all parallel edges to this edge right here. That means I should make a ring selection all the way around with all of these edges, and it should come wrapping back around to right here. Let's take a look. Ring, and look at that. Let's go ahead and hit F3. That'll make it a little bit easier for some of you to see. I'll hit G to turn off the grid. So rotating around, I did just like I described. There's my ring selection. So let's go ahead and undo that, and let's take a look at what loop is real quick. So again, I still have this one edge right here selected. Actually, let's just select this one. Okay. What loop's going to do is it's going to select all of my edges that are connected together. So loop, and there you go. Did again just like I said. Okay, so that's doing with loop. That can be really important when doing polygon modeling, and you want to select all of the edges that are connected together that run all the way around a piece of geometry. Simply select one, hit loop, boom, and then you're ready to start scaling it out or chamfering it or doing whatever you may need to do. So ring and loop are very handy selection utilities, if you want to look at it that way, for when dealing with edges and borders as well. Finally, last thing I want to show you is we get some feedback down here in the bottom corner as to what is selected inside this rollout. Right now we've got 25 vertices selected. So since we've got more than one vertex, it tells us how many of the type is selected. The same thing, of course, applies over here with edges, etc. If I have just one of these sub-objects types selected, then I actually get the name of that guy, or the number of him, if you will. So this is vertex 48 is selected right now. This guy up here happens to be vertex number 30. If I was doing edges, I've got 10 different edges selected at the moment. If I select only one, I've got edge 95 selected. Does that make sense, Logan?
Yep.
Okay, good. So that's a quick overview of working with the selection rollout. I know this is extremely basic stuff, but again, the whole idea of this particular VTM is to have a really killer lesson to get you familiar with all of these different tools and settings and parameters, so that then when we get into a more complex modeling assignment, which is what's going to happen on the next VTM, all of this stuff's going to make sense, and I'm not going to have to spend a lot of time pointing things out. So that's going to conclude the selection rollout section. So thanks.